Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a journey into a story that is really complex, profoundly complex, and sometimes, let's be honest, deeply uncomfortable. We're going to examine a legacy that's been shaped, challenged, fought over for decades, really, revealing layers far beneath that, glossy celebrity surface. But before we truly plunge in, a really crucial and honest heads up for you, our listener. This deep dive includes discussion of some very sensitive themes. We're talking grooming, manipulation, substance use, financial issues, mismanagement, and intense family conflict. We are dissecting narratives involving real people navigating very real trauma and grappling with some incredibly potent power struggles. So listener discretion is strongly advised. This isn't going to be a light, casual listen. It's an in-depth, pretty unflinching examination, and we just want you to be fully prepared for the kind of material we'll be exploring. Here on the deep dive, our mission is pretty clear. We don't do fairy tales, we do facts. That's what we aim for. We try to cut through the noise, the carefully crafted public images, the decades of speculation to get to the truth behind significant stories, stories that have really shaped our cultural landscape. And today, our central figure is one of the most iconic and maybe one of the most fiercely debated women connected to rock and roll royalty, Priscilla Presley. So here's the core kind of provocative question we're laying out for you today, something to keep in mind as we go through the evidence. Was Priscilla Presley a vulnerable victim of Elvis's overwhelming fame, his charisma? Or did she ultimately become the ultimate manipulator of his name, his image, and crucially, his daughter's legacy? And let me be clear, this isn't about indulging in gossip. It's really about excavating truth, trying to understand the intricate dynamics of power, influence, and the lasting, often devastating impact of choices made in that blinding spotlight of fame. So let's truly get into it.
Okay, let's unpack this then. To really grasp the complexities of Priscilla Presley's story, we absolutely have to go back to the very beginning of her relationship with Elvis.
Our sources really push us to rewind to 1959, a year that would just forever alter her life's path. At this point, Elvis Presley was 24 years old. He was stationed in West Germany with the army, doing his military service, and he wasn't just famous. He was already like the most famous man on earth, a global phenomenon. Everyone knew him.
Absolutely, a household name everywhere.
Exactly. And then there was Priscilla Ann Bewley. She was just 14, a freshman in high school, living with her family in Germany because her stepfather was stationed there with the Air Force.
Just think about that for a second. 24 and 14.
Right. That stark age difference, that undeniable power dynamic right from their very first meeting.
That's huge.
And this wasn't just some casual encounter. For Priscilla, it was, earth-shattering, a defining moment that would ripple through her whole life. Priscilla herself, in her best-selling memoir, Elvis and Me, she described this period with a phrase that really sticks with you.
What was that?
I was Elvis's living doll.
Wow. Living doll.
Yeah. It's a statement that, even just on the surface, it immediately suggests a significant lack of agency, right? A role defined and controlled by someone else, someone much, much more powerful. During this time, Elvis didn't just meet her. He started this, relentless and kind of calculated pursuit. Our sources detail his intense efforts. He showered her with gifts, some extravagant, some maybe seemingly innocent tokens.
Constant attention.
Constant. He called her all the time, sometimes for hours, just monopolizing her time, her attention. He wrote her letters, keeping up this intense, almost obsessive connection across continents, even while he was touring and working.
It wasn't just a passing fancy then.
No, it feels like a concerted campaign of attention. And then, as they got closer, he took an even bigger and frankly, pretty audacious step. He formally asked her parents for permission for their underage daughter to move to the U.S. to live with him at Graceland.
Before she was even legally an adult.
Exactly, before she was legally an adult. Now, when you lay out these actions, one after the other, you consider the sequence, the context.
Yeah.
Our source material puts it very bluntly, very powerfully. It states that this isn't romance. That, unequivocally, is grooming.
And what's truly fascinating here, if we look closely, is how this early dynamic, even those seemingly innocent gestures, the gifts, the constant calls, how they meticulously laid the groundwork for everything that followed in their, let's face it, incredibly complex relationship. When our sources use that term grooming here, it's absolutely crucial to understand why they choose that specific word.
Right. It's a loaded term.
It is, and it speaks to an absolute undeniable power imbalance that was baked in from the very start. On one side, you have an adult, a global icon, immense wealth, influence, this established charismatic persona.
Untouchable, almost.
Pretty much. And on the other side, a child. A minor in every sense, legally, emotionally, psychologically. Still figuring things out in her formative teenage years. This wasn't about equals meeting. It wasn't mutual consent in the way we understand it between adults. It was about an adult systematically, intentionally building trust, building emotional dependency.
Creating that connect.
Exactly. A deep connection with a young person in a way that inherently established control right from the beginning.
Sure.
And this raises a really important question for us to consider, doesn't it? What does it truly mean, and what are the long-term implications when an adult figure, especially one with that kind of fame and those resources, starts to exert this kind of profound, calculated influence over a minor?
Yeah.
The source explicitly points out, and this is key, even if there was no sex at first, the power imbalance was absolute.
That's a critical distinction.
It is, because grooming isn't solely defined by physical acts. It's fundamentally about the psychological manipulation, the emotional conditioning, the creation of dependency that often precedes and enables further control, whether that's physical or emotional.
So it's the groundwork.
It's absolutely the groundwork. The potential psychological implications of that dynamic on someone like Priscilla, young, impressionable, they're profound.
Yeah.
Far-reaching. It could easily shape her whole identity, distort her sense of self-worth, fundamentally alter her understanding of what healthy relationships even look like for the rest of her life.
You can see how that would happen.
This initial dynamic, it established this pervasive pattern, control and dependence, and that just echoed through their entire relationship, really setting the stage, the quite disquieting stage, for the next phase, the even more restrictive phase of her young life.
And that next phase, as the sources laid out, it escalated dramatically. It really cemented Priscilla's role as, well, less of a partner and much more of a possession. By 1963, Priscilla was just 17, she made that pivotal move to Memphis. Now, on paper, or at least how it was presented to her parents, maybe the public, the arrangement seemed structured, respectable.
The official story.
Right. The official story was she was supposed to live with Vernon Presley, Eldest's dad, and his wife Dee, finish high school at Immaculate Conception, lead a sort of normal supervised teenage life. Just, in the orbit of a superstar.
Sounds reasonable on the surface.
Yeah, but that arrangement, our source material bluntly reveals, it quickly dissolved.
So not so normal.
Not at all. The stark reality was, almost immediately, she found herself living full-time at Graceland, directly, constantly, under Elvis's massive influence and his, well, unyielding control. This is where her role fundamentally shifts. She stops being an independent person, maybe even stops being just the living doll she described earlier.
She becomes something else.
She becomes his project, that's the word used. Not a partner in any real sense, but, as the source says unequivocally, a possession.
Wow.
And the examples of this dictatorial control are pretty chilling. They paint a vivid picture of her lost autonomy. Elvis meticulously dictated her appearance. Her hair, originally light brown, dyed jet black. Shiny, lacquered, just like his signature look.
His look.
Exactly.
He controlled her makeup, told her how to apply the heavy eyeliner, the false eyelashes to get the specific, almost doll-like look he wanted.
Creating his ideal image.
Totally. He chose her clothing, often these demure, almost childlike dresses or coordinated outfits that matched his own style. But more insidiously, he controlled her daily schedule, her social interactions, her movements.
Big-time isolation. Kept largely separate from friends her own age. Her only real companions were often the older members of Elvis's inner circle, the Memphis Mafia.
Which just reinforces the dependence.
Completely solidified her dependence on him as her sole source of interaction, validation, purpose. But the control went even deeper than just, how she looked or what she did each day.
Oh.
The sources also highlight the introduction of substances. Elvis frequently gave her sleeping pills, supposedly to help her sleep or adjust to his, nocturnal schedule. He also introduced her to amphetamines, those diet pills that were everywhere back then, which he himself used heavily.
Right. Speed.
Yeah. And this wasn't just sharing. This was a powerful, controlling figure initiating a vulnerable, isolated teenager into drug use.
Blurring lines, increasing reliance.
Absolutely. Further blurring the lines of her autonomy, making her even more reliant on him for both emotional and now chemical sustenance. Priscilla herself later repeated that feeling of complete surrender. She said, "I was Elvis's doll. He told me what to do. I did everything to please him."
Just gave up her own agency.
Seems like it. They eventually married in 1967 after years of this intense, controlled living situation, and their daughter, Lisa Marie, was born in 1968. Yet, by 1969, just a year after Lisa Marie's birth, Elvis's interest in Priscilla as a sexual partner had apparently just withered, gone
That quickly.
that quickly. And our source explains the pretty disquieting reason, citing Priscilla's own accounts and statements from multiple insiders in Elvis's circle.
Okay, what was it?
Apparently, he couldn't be sexually attracted to a woman once she became a mother.
Wow. That's not...
Isn't it? Let's be blunt about what that reveals about his psyche, his expectations of women. He didn't seem to want conventional wives, someone who would evolve, have kids, embrace motherhood.
He wanted the fantasy.
Exactly. A fantasy. A pristine, unchanging image he could control, project his desires onto. An eternal doll, not a real woman with her own developing identity.
And if we really connect this to the bigger picture, right? This whole period at Graceland, it isn't just about quirky habits or eccentricities. It's about the complete, systematic erosion of a young woman's identity, her autonomy.
Systematically taken away.
Exactly. The meticulous control over her appearance, her social life, her daily routine. It transformed her into an extension of Elvis's will, a living embodiment of his fantasy. And the introduction of substances, especially by someone in that position of overwhelming power, that adds a really chilling layer, control and vulnerability.
It's another lever of control.
Absolutely. It didn't just foster dependence, it also likely dulled her ability to resist or even critically assess her own situation, making her even more reliant. It's actually a classic tactic. You see it in highly controlling, abusive relationships. Isolate the individual, subtly alter their reality.
Makes sense.
And the source's hard truth about Elvis. It's stark, but I think it's necessary for understanding this whole picture. Elvis Presley should have never gotten married.
That's a bold statement.
It is, but it's not just an idle observation. By multiple accounts, he himself admitted he couldn't be faithful. He wasn't built for monogamy.
He said it himself.
He did. Which suggests that his marriage to Priscilla, far from being some traditional love match, was, as the source claims, for image, not love.
A performance.
Pretty much. A
Yeah.
calculated performance. A public facade may be designed to bolster his wholesome image during a time when public tastes were changing. Not a genuine, committed partnership.
Right.
And this deeply unsatisfying reality, being trapped in a marriage that wasn't what it seemed, it sheds significant light on Priscilla's later actions, particularly her affair with her karate instructor, Mike Stone.
Ah, right. That comes up.
From this perspective, you can see it not just as, a simple marital transgression, but maybe as a desperate, almost primal attempt to reclaim some agency.
To feel like herself again.
Some sense of self, some personal desire outside of Elvis's overwhelming, emotionally stifling control. It makes a certain kind of psychological sense, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
She eventually found the strength, summoned the will to leave Elvis in 1972. That marked the beginning of her own liberation, really. Their divorce was finalized in 1973.
So she was out.
She was out. Yet just 4 years later, 1977, Elvis was tragically gone, dead at 42. And despite having not lived at Graceland for 5 years, this pivotal moment, his death, would paradoxically pave the way for Priscilla to claim a significant and, as we'll get into, highly contested control over his massive legacy.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting and where the narrative, of Priscilla as the victim starts to pivot quite dramatically towards maybe Priscilla the powerful, calculating strategist. With Elvis gone, a whole new chapter began, one that would completely redefine Priscilla's role. After Vernon Presley, Elvis's father, passed away in 1979, the estate situation became truly critical.
Things were bad financially, weren't they?
Reportedly terrible. Elvis had left a substantial inheritance on paper, but years of poor management, huge spending. By the time Vernon died, the estate was apparently teetering on bankruptcy. Less than $1 million in assets, facing massive debts, taxes. It was dire.
Wow. For Elvis Presley's estate.
Exactly. And Lisa Marie, his only child, sole heir, was just 11 years old. Her trust desperately needed new, competent leadership to stop the whole thing from collapsing.
A vacuum of power, essentially.
And into that vacuum, this was the opportune moment Priscilla stepped in. She didn't do it alone, at least not initially. She strategically aligned herself with Joseph Hanks from the National Bank of Commerce and the bank itself.
Smart move. Legitimacy.
Right. This trio was key in officially forming Elvis Presley Enterprises, EPE, back in 1981. Priscilla took a prominent role on its board. This structure was crucial for consolidating assets, starting to rebuild the empire. Now here's the truth, and this directly challenges that common, almost mythic narrative we hear.
The one where she saved Graceland single-handedly.
Exactly that one. Priscilla didn't single-handedly save Graceland from ruin. That wasn't her initial vision or her detailed plan. Our sources are really clear on this. The true architect, the visionary who conceived and implemented the strategy to open Graceland to the public, was Jack Soden,
The CEO they hired.
the CEO hired by EPE. It was his idea, his strategic foresight, that led to Graceland opening its doors in 1982, transforming it from a massive financial drain into the incredible cash cow it still is today.
Generating huge revenue.
Huge, millions of visitors. But despite this clear, verifiable fact, Priscilla took the credit. She positioned herself as the sole savior. She publicly called herself the visionary who rescued Elvis's home, his legacy. She became the public face of the resurrection of Elvis's empire.
A masterful PR.
Absolutely. Strategically ensuring that she, and she alone, was seen as the one who preserved his legacy. It was a masterclass in narrative control, really solidifying her power and influence right from the start of that era.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, her actions during this critical period, they seem less about, say, a sudden burst of business acumen or just safeguarding a family asset. Instead, they look like a deeply strategic maneuver, aimed squarely at solidifying her own position, securing this undeniable center of control within the Elvis empire.
It wasn't just about saving it, but controlling it.
Precisely. The formation of EPE, her immediate, prominent role in leading Lisa Marie's trust. These weren't accidental happenings. They feel like calculated moves to ensure her long-term influence. Which again raises that important question, what kind of control was she really aiming for?
Right, what was the end game?
It seems pretty evident it wasn't just about ensuring the estate survived. It was about ensuring her pervasive influence, her enduring power within that massive, globally recognized enterprise.
Maintaining relevance, maybe?
And control. The source's assertion here is quite direct, almost chilling in its implication. In reality, she was securing control. And she had no intention of giving it up.
No intention.
That suggests a long-term, meticulously planned strategy. A calculated move to embed herself at the absolute center of the Elvis empire, wielding power that would shape not just the estate, but the very narrative of his life, their relationship, everything.
It's fascinating how it mirrors the earlier dynamic, but flipped.
It does draw striking parallels, doesn't it, to the earlier themes of control and influence we saw in her relationship with Elvis. It suggests a consistent, perhaps even learned, pattern in how she approached power dynamics. Her initial role as the living doll, it seems, ironically, might have prepared her to become a very skilled manipulator of power herself.
An unexpected outcome.
Need. And this strategic securing of control, her unwavering refusal to let go of it, that sets the stage perfectly for the profound financial issues that would follow, where her influence, and the influence of those she worked with, would have devastating, very real consequences for Lisa Marie's inheritance.
So, with Priscilla firmly positioned at the helm of EPE, what did this all actually mean for Lisa Marie's inheritance? Her rightful legacy? Let's talk about the money, because this is where the implications of that secured control become, well, painfully, devastatingly clear. By the 2000s, EPE, largely thanks to Jack Soden's original vision, wasn't just thriving, it was a financial juggernaut. A global brand, hundreds of millions flowing through it.
Huge success story, commercially.
Huge. Money was definitely flowing in, and our sources reveal where a significant chunk of it was flowing out. Priscilla Presley was being paid a staggering $900,000 a year by EPE.
$900,000 a year.
Per year. And here's the absolutely crucial detail that really underscores the nature of this arrangement. This was even though she held no ownership and wasn't doing daily work.
Wait. No ownership stake, no day-to-day job.
According to the source, no. Nearly $1 million annually, year after year, without direct ownership, without significant daily operational responsibilities.
What was that payment for?
That's the question, isn't it? What was it truly for, if not maybe to maintain her influence, her loyalty, her position as the face?
Seems like an incredibly generous consulting fee, if that's what it was.
Extremely generous. And this salary, our source specifies, was orchestrated by Barry Siegel. He was Lisa Marie's business manager. And Siegel himself was also drawing an enormous sum, between $700,000 and $800,000 a year, specifically tasked with managing Lisa Marie's trust.
So combined, they're pulling well over $1.5 million a year just between the two of them.
Exactly. Two individuals, one with no direct ownership and supposedly no daily work, the other tasked with prudently managing the trust for the sole heir, both extracting massive salaries from the estate.
While the actual heir is...
Well,
there.
Right. And the devastating, frankly shocking outcome under their alleged control. Lisa Marie's initial fortune, estimated around $100 million at its peak. It vanished.
Vanished.
Yeah.
Like gone.
Gone. This is an exaggeration. It's the stark reality presented by our sources, a tragic financial decimation. Furthermore, there was what's described as a shady 2005 deal. The controlling interest in EPE itself, the very engine of the fortune, was sold off.
Sold the golden goose, essentially.
Seems like it. Our sources imply this deal lacked transparency, maybe was undervalued, further eroding Lisa Marie's future wealth and control. The consequences of this alleged mismanagement, these questionable deals, were so severe that Lisa Marie later took direct legal action. She sued Siegel, explicitly claiming fraud and mismanagement.
A direct accusation of betrayal.
Absolutely. A testament to her belief that she had been profoundly burned.
What's truly fascinating here, delving into these details, is just the sheer scale of the funds involved and the profound lack of apparent accountability in how they were managed.
Right. $100 million isn't pocket change.
Not at all. And those high, continuous salaries paid to Priscilla and Siegel, particularly when, as the source claims, one held no ownership and neither seemed to be actively growing the core assets for Lisa Marie. It certainly raises serious fundamental questions about fiduciary responsibility.
Can you explain that term briefly? Fiduciary responsibility.
Sure. Basically, it means acting solely in the best interest of another party. In this case, Lisa Marie, the beneficiary of the trust. It requires prudence, transparency, loyalty, avoiding conflicts of interest. You have to put her interests above your own.
And the picture here suggests...
The picture painted by our sources suggests a significant breach of those core principles, where personal gain for the managers, those huge salaries, seem to maybe supersede the financial well-being of the primary heir.
Right.
And the significance of Lisa Marie's lawsuit against Siegel, explicitly claiming fraud and mismanagement. You can't overstate that.
Yeah.
It underscores not just a financial loss, but a profound, deeply personal sense of betrayal.
From the people closest to her.
Exactly. As the source powerfully summarizes it, in a line that just resonates, she trusted him, she trusted her mom, and she got burned by both.
That's rough.
It is. This isn't merely about depleted assets. It's about a fundamental breach of trust from those who were supposed to protect her. Most particularly, a mother figure who was ostensibly entrusted with safeguarding her daughter's legacy, her inheritance. It really raises an incredibly important question about the responsibilities of fiduciaries, yes, but maybe even more acutely, of family members. When managing such vast, vulnerable estates, it paints a really disquieting picture of alleged exploitation within a family context, where financial gain and maintaining control seem to have tragically overridden the well-being and the trust of the direct heir.
And this story isn't just about the vanishing money, is it? Though that's a huge part. At its core, it's really about Lisa Marie's lifelong, often heartbreaking struggle for her own agency, for the autonomy she was legally and emotionally entitled to. A fight that, ironically, kind of paralleled her mother's own complex journey from being controlled.
The cycle continues, in a way.
Seems like it. Our sources reveal a key legal milestone that should have marked a turning point. When Lisa Marie turned 25, she legally could have, and by all rights should have, taken full control. Her entire estate, her trust.
That was her legal right.
Her birthright, her moment to step into her own power, maybe finally out of her mother's shadow. But out of respect, perhaps? Maybe a deep-seated desire to keep some family harmony. She didn't immediately assert that right.
She gave her mom more time.
She did. She asked Priscilla to stay on as co-trustee until she turned 30. That would have been 1998. This was meant to be the clear, agreed-upon handoff, a graceful transition.
Should have been straightforward.
Should have been. But Priscilla, according to our sources, categorically refused to step down.
Refused, even after the agreed time.
Refused. Despite her daughter reaching legal adulthood, despite the respectful request, Priscilla kept the power. She kept the title, and she kept the money.
Wow. Just held on.
This unwavering refusal to let go of control, even when her own daughter was legally capable and explicitly wanted it. It speaks volumes, doesn't it, about her grip on that legacy, her apparent unwillingness to cede the authority she'd worked so hard to consolidate.
It really undermines the idea she was just protecting it for Lisa Marie.
Absolutely. And this refusal, our sources suggest, directly contributed to Lisa Marie's later struggles. Her own well-documented financial difficulties, deep emotional distress. She couldn't access or manage her own fortune effectively.
Trapped again in a different way.
Exactly. And the conflict tragically didn't end there. Fast forward to after Lisa Marie's utterly tragic sudden death in January 2023. You might expect a period of mourning, right? stepping back, letting the next generation handle things.
Meant for family unity, ideally.
Ideally. But Priscilla didn't step back. Our source states, with almost chilling precision, that she filed a legal challenge to overturn Lisa's will within days of her daughter's passing. Days. And this wasn't quiet. It was a direct, swift, highly public legal maneuver. It immediately plunged the family into a bitter, very visible conflict. She fought her own granddaughter, Riley Keough, in court, disputing the validity of an amendment to Lisa Marie's will that specifically removed Priscilla and Barry Siegel as co-trustees.
Trying to invalidate her own daughter's final wishes.
Essentially, yes.
That's all.
Attempting to overturn Lisa Marie's clearly stated intentions regarding who should manage the trust after her death.
And if we really connect this to the bigger picture, Priscilla's unwavering refusal to cede control, despite Lisa Marie's legal right, her respectful request. It just suggests such a profound, deeply ingrained attachment to power, to influence, seemingly regardless of legal expectations, familial expectations, anything.
It became about the control itself.
It appears that way. It undeniably highlights a consistent pattern, doesn't it? Prioritizing her own position, her control over her daughter's autonomy, her well-being, even her final wishes.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about managing an estate anymore. It feels like it was about maintaining a deeply felt sense of identity, of authority within that whole Presley narrative. And what's particularly fascinating here, and frankly quite unsettling, is the sheer speed, the assertiveness of her actions right after Lisa Marie's death.
Immediately moving legally.
In the face of such profound recent loss. To challenge her own daughter's will so quickly, to engage in a public legal battle against her granddaughter, Riley Keough. It truly solidifies the source's assertion about her relentless drive for control, her unwillingness to let go even the most tragic circumstances.
And what came out of that legal challenge?
Well, the stated outcomes for Priscilla are quite significant, and they tell their own story. She walked away with a multi-million-dollar settlement.
So a financial gain.
A substantial financial gain, yes, at a moment of extreme family vulnerability. She also secured ongoing influence over the estate, maintaining a position of power in its continued management. A tangible victory in her quest for control.
Still involved.
Still involved, and perhaps most symbolically loaded. She obtained a burial plot at Graceland, next to the man she left and the daughter she betrayed.
Wow, the burial plot.
That final detail, securing a physical place of eternal rest right there, alongside the very people she allegedly controlled and fought against.
Yes.
It carries immense symbolic weight, doesn't it, in the context of this whole complex narrative.
It really does.
It's a literal physical manifestation of her enduring claim, her determined place within the Presley legacy, regardless of the cost, it seems.
And speaking of control, we absolutely need to talk about the ultimate power of storytelling itself. How narratives aren't just shaped, but sometimes meticulously manipulated, solidified in the public mind. This brings us to the most recent and arguably most contentious chapter. Sofia Coppola's Priscilla film, released in 2023.
Based on Priscilla's memoir.
Exactly, based directly on Elvis and Me. Our sources describe the film's portrayal of Elvis as cold, predatory, and manipulative, reducing his complex persona down to the singular negative archetype. Priscilla, in stark contrast, depicted almost entirely as a victim, trapped, suffering.
A narrative that aligns very neatly with her book.
Perfectly. It effectively presents her version of events as the definitive, unassailable truth. But here's the critical and profoundly disturbing piece of information that just radically shifts the perspective on this.
Okay.
Lisa Marie Presley, Elvis's only child, tragically read the script for this film before her death.
Oh, wow.
And our source states unequivocally that she was horrified.
Horrified.
Horrified. She didn't just dislike it. She felt it grossly misrepresented her father, his complex humanity, their shared history, reduced him to a caricature. We have direct, anguished quotes from Lisa Marie herself, from an email she sent directly to Sofia Coppola pleading for a reevaluation.
What did she say?
She wrote, "My father only comes across as a predator and manipulative. I don't see any as my father in this character." She felt it was actively damaging his legacy, his memory.
A daughter defending her father's image.
Desperately. This wasn't just a note of dissatisfaction. Lisa Marie, according to our sources, begged for the film not to be released.
Begged them not to make it.
Begged them not to release it. She was desperate to prevent this particular narrative, which she saw as a grotesque distortion, from being cemented as the truth about her father. Yet Priscilla Presley, who served as a prominent executive producer on the film,
Giving her significant influence.
Over creative direction, the final cut. She pushed forward anyway. Despite her own daughter's profound distress, her direct plea, the emotional toll, the film was released,
Telling her version.
telling her version of the story, shaping public perception, and effectively having the final word.
And what's truly fascinating and frankly quite chilling here is that ultimate power struggle over the narrative itself. Especially when one of the most significant, most authentic voices, Lisa Marie's, was tragically silenced shortly after she voiced these profound objections.
The timing is just awful.
Awful. From the source's perspective, this film becomes this meticulously crafted vehicle, serving to further Priscilla's desired image, solidifying her chosen version of events as the definitive one for everyone else. And in doing so, it allegedly did more than just reshape a narrative. It potentially destroyed Elvis's public image in a specific, reductive way, just the predator, stripping away any nuance,
Erasing the complexity.
erasing the complexity, and crucially, perhaps most tragically, it effectively erased Lisa Marie's own voice, her incredibly nuanced, deeply personal perspective on her father, on their family, on her life.
Her truth got overridden.
Completely overridden. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's a powerful and, yes, deeply unsettling example of how history can be actively rewritten, controlled through media, especially when those with the loudest platforms, the most financial leverage, control the story.
Whoever holds the pen or the producer credit.
Exactly. The film effectively allowed Priscilla to get the final word, cementing her narrative in popular culture as the dominant one, despite that direct, heartfelt opposition from the person with perhaps the most personal, profound stake in Elvis's true legacy, his own daughter. So this incident, it powerfully encourages all of us, listeners included, to consider the profound complexities of personal narratives, especially when they're presented through a single controlling lens. It underscores how crucial it is to seek out multiple perspectives, especially when dealing with these high-stakes legacies, vast wealth, and deeply personal histories affecting generations.
So, we've taken this exhaustive deep dive through the extraordinary, often troubling, undeniably complex story of Priscilla Presley's journey. Let's maybe stop sugarcoating it, as our sources demand, and speak to the raw truths presented here. The evidence suggests a pretty clear conclusion from the source's perspective. Elvis Presley probably should have never gotten married, especially given his own admissions, his behavior. But, just as powerfully, our sources contend that Priscilla Presley should have never held on to power and control in the relentless, enduring way she apparently did.
Two sides of a dysfunctional coin.
Seems that way. Our sources frame Priscilla's actions with an almost brutal clarity, using this powerful metaphor that resonates through the whole story. She left the man, but she kept the name, built a throne on his grave, and buried anyone who threatened her seat.
That's a stark image.
It is. This isn't just a personal story of navigating a complicated past. It reads like a saga of strategic maneuvering, relentless ambition, and unwavering pursuit of control over an empire and a global narrative. She wasn't simply telling her story. She was, as the source concludes with chilling precision, rewriting everyone else's. Most notably, her daughter's and Elvis's.
Reshaping history in her image.
We've seen how Lisa Marie, Elvis's sole heir, fought her whole life for agency, for respect, for the truth of her father, for control over her own inheritance, desperately trying to assert her autonomy against the formidable power of the estate, and, increasingly it seems, her own mother.
A constant battle.
A constant battle. And tragically, when Lisa Marie died, Priscilla filed papers to challenge her will within days, underscoring that unrelenting pursuit of control, even in the face of just unspeakable grief. The ultimate lesson gleaned from our source material feels chillingly precise. A universal truth may be embedded in this celebrity tale. This isn't a love story. It's a lesson in how power corrupts when no one holds it accountable.
A cautionary tale, really.
Definitely feels like one. And why should you, listening right now, care about this deep dive beyond just the fascinating celebrity details? Because this story, while intensely personal to the Presley family, it illuminates broader, critical concepts about how power is wielded, how legacies are meticulously constructed, fiercely protected, and crucially, how narratives can be controlled, altered, even weaponized. It compels us to look beyond the glittering surface, beyond the glamour, and understand the very real human cost of unchecked influence, the enduring consequences of decisions made in the shadows of immense fame.
And this deep dive into Priscilla Presley's story, it really raises an incredibly important question for you to consider, a question that extends far beyond the specific family, this particular legacy. In an age like ours, an age of pervasive information, carefully curated public images, How do we, as critical thinkers, as engaged citizens, truly discern truth from meticulously constructed narratives?
It's getting harder and harder.
It is. Especially when immense legacies, significant wealth, and deeply personal histories are all tangled up together. How do we cultivate the discernment we need to critically evaluate the stories presented to us, particularly when those stories seem to serve the very direct benefit of the people telling them, perhaps silencing others in the process? That's something worth reflecting on, I think.
So what do you think after hearing all of this? Was Priscilla Presley ultimately a victim, like the film suggests? Was she a meticulous strategist, relentlessly planning her rise? Or maybe something far more complex, even dangerous in her unwavering grip on control? We really want to hear your thoughts. Drop them in the comments wherever you're listening to this deep dive. And if you found this analysis compelling, maybe enlightening, please share this deep dive. Share it with someone you think needs to hear it, someone who loves a good, fact-driven story that challenges what they thought they knew.
Spread the word.
Please do. And of course, make sure to subscribe for more fearless, fact-driven storytelling that peels back the layers. This is the deep dive. We don't do nostalgia, we do receipts.